All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
The briefcase was loaded with explosives, wasn't it?
10 pounds of C4 is on the way to the Coliseum right now. It's ironic, don't you think, that this bomb's going to be delivered to Baynard by his own personal bodyguard? After his death, the police will receive a photograph of you, Joseph, handing over the briefcase, and blame you for the crime.
And they'll believe it, too, because they know what a fan of Baynard's you are.
You think you're so cool, don't you? You think you're so cool. Well, just once, I would like to hear you scream in pain.
Play some rap music.
Live from the CSB studios in beautiful Stratford, Connecticut on All Noise Radio, simulcast on allnoiseradio.com, and podcast on the Zuki and Ruggs Show YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We are proud to present to you the Zuki and Ruggs Show. Tonight, we will recap Week 8 in the NFL, make our predictions for the upcoming Week number 9, but first, some baseball as we discuss the surprisingly, at least to me, competitive World Series. Now, on loan from his other home on Mount Olympus, it is the Greek god of sports, better known as my partner, Zuki. Hello there, Zuki. How are you tonight?
Sup, partner? You notice how everything's abbreviated nowadays? Like, when you text or when you're on social media, people are like, we've become such a lazy society.
That's true.
People don't even say what's up anymore. It's just sup.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody and they're like, sup. What? Sup? Did you just misspell soup? They're like, no, sup. I'm like, sup? Sup what? I suck? What are you talking about? But anyway, what's up, my brother?
Not much. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, me
doing
too.
The show.
I'm loving it. We're getting a lot of support. I want to thank our people, our subscribers on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. I want to take the time to say thank you very much for the support and keep listening. Hang with us and listen to the show, damn it, for longer than 3 minutes, will you?
I get a lot of those too. I heard you for about 10 minutes. But
oh, come on. You listen to Francesca for 5 hours and us for 3 minutes. Come on.
We're better.
Maybe. I hope. Well, we don't get callers yet, so I don't have a chance. I don't have an opportunity to hang up on anyone.
We'd be nicer to our callers than Francesca.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so you want to get into this baseball,
let's kick it right off with
Well, I just got one thing to say. What a disgrace on Saturday night. What a shameful disgrace by Major League Baseball. But it's nothing new with the Bud Selig era. I mean, here's a guy who's been the commissioner of the steroid era. Here's a guy who's gotten baseball into a litany of problems, who's just disgraced the sport. And once again, also let's mention another debacle, the All-Star game in 2002 that ended in a tie, which caused him to create this irrational, ridiculous idea that an All-Star game should decide home field for the World Series. I mean, this guy is just a stooge. Thank God. The best news I've heard in years that he's finally leaving. Thank the Lord. And here we go again on Saturday night. And Jim Joyce, here's an egomaniac who decides to make a terrible call. He's the same umpire, Ruggs, if you remember, in 2010 with Armando Galarraga in Detroit, was pitching a perfect game, and then it's not even a bang-bang play. It was clear as day. The runner was out on a ground ball, and he called the runner safe, which cost Galarraga the perfect game. And then, of course, he went on this national tour of apology. Oh, mea culpa. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, poor me, poor me. He's also the same umpire, this egomaniac who, when he calls balls and strikes, he goes, strike. Yeah. Like, I need to hear you, Jim Joyce. Really, Jim? I need to hear you, strike. I don't want to hear you, Jim. Okay, shut your pie hole. Okay? And now here's a guy. I'll get into the play right now. I'll break the play down for people who didn't see, and I'll start from the beginning. First and foremost, I will place blame where it belongs. Jared Saltalamacchia, okay, terrible throw. First of all, the decision was stupid. Okay, Jared, however you spell your last name, you stooge. The decision to throw the ball was idiotic. There's 2 outs, okay? I understand it's a tie game. You get the guy out at third. The game, the inning's over, whatever, and the winning run's not 90 feet away. I get that. But Jared, if you're going to make the throw, if you decide to throw the ball, make sure you put it at third base, not at the shortstop, okay? So I'm going to place blame on Jared Saltalamacchia for the poor throw. I'm also going to place blame on Will Middlebrooks for not catching the ball. Hey, Will, that's the winning run on third base. Mind catching the ball, Will? It's okay to come off the bag and stop the ball. I'm not a major league ball player, Ruggs. Okay, I'm not. But when I was 5 years old, I remember my older brother teaching me the first thing about fielding was to stop the ball. That's the first thing he taught me, was to stop that damn ball. That ball does not get by you. Whether you get the out or not, you do not let that ball get by you. Will Middlebrooks, I was 5 years old when I learned this. This is the World Series, pal. That's the winning run. Stop the damn ball. Okay? But what's done is done. Jim Joyce decides to make a terrible call. I got into arguments with people on social media. I don't understand how anyone can sit here and say that was a good call. It was a terrible call. Ruggs, I've shown you the pictures. If you watch the video again, it's a debacle. Alan Craig runs out of the baseline. Do you know why, Ruggs, the baseball field, there's dirt along the line and grass along the edges? You know what that's called, right?
Absolutely.
What's it called, Ruggs?
That's your baseline.
Okay. What happens if you run out of that, Ruggs?
You're out.
Oh, what a shocking, oh my God, what a shocker. Oh God. Okay. So this guy runs out of the baseline. Will Middlebrooks' body, if you look at the picture and you watch the video, his torso, which is below the neck and stops at, his hips, that's a torso, people, okay, is towards shortstop. It's to the inside of the bag, okay? And on top of it, his legs are lifted up, which gives Craig even more access to run down the baseline. And again with this stupid idea, why did Craig lift his legs? Why did Middlebrooks lift his legs? Well, maybe because Middlebrooks realized that if I don't lift my legs are in the baseline somewhat, I'll lift my legs so I don't get called for, obstruction or interference. I mean, come on, people, wake up. What happened? Why in America do we need to rely on the media and a rule book, okay, to tell us what was obstruction or not? You know what I saw, Ruggs? I saw it in real time. I used my eyes, my brain, and common frickin' sense. It's common sense. The guy stepped out of the baseline towards the mound, onto the field, basically, on to Will Middlebrooks. Okay? He stepped on him. Will Middlebrooks has a right to field the frickin' ball. Okay? He has the right to do that. Okay? What's Middlebrooks supposed to do there? Evaporate? What's he supposed to do there? He didn't have time to jump up. Okay? The ball. Okay? He dove for the ball towards shortstop, towards second base, and he gets stepped on. And then there's even pictures of Jim Joyce not even looking at the play. He's looking at the ball down the third base, down to the left field. Mm-hmm. He's looking at the ball. Then he turns around and sees fat Alan Craig landed on top of Will Middlebrooks. Another thing, Alan Craig, fat boy. I bet you don't trip over the friggin' line to the buffet. I bet you're nice and limber around the General Tso's chicken, buddy. Alan Craig. He lands on top of Middlebrooks, who's out of the way, and they call obstruction. I mean, first of all, how do you make that call? In a World Series game, how do you end a World Series game on an obstruction call? Yeah. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And shame on, I will say another thing. Greg Amsinger, whatever his name is on MLB Network, you're a toolbox. Okay, pal? You're a gigantic toolbox. Okay, he's sitting there. You know what he says, Ruggs? I said, let me see what MLB Network has to say. Because they're the media. Let's see if they're fair and objective. Well, I guess they're not. They're more along the lines of Fox News and MSNBC and all these guys who are just totally one-sided. Of course, it's the MLB Network. But I expected maybe some fair and objective, viewpoints. Nope, I didn't get it from Mr. Amsinger, douchebag. He sits there and says, well, it doesn't matter if Craig's out of the baseline. Oh, really? So Craig could just run to the mound if he feels like it, right? Oh, I can just run to the mound and just run anywhere I want, according to Mr. Amsinger. I mean, are you kidding me? The guy's out of the baseline. Give me a break. And then there's this idea of rules. Really? Baseball? Rules don't apply in baseball sometimes. Look at double play balls. I get 99 times out of 100, the guy's not even stepping on second base.
Neighborhood play.
Give me a break. Rule book. You know what else is in the rule book, people? The strike zone. How does that get called? Give me a break. Wake up. What happened to this country where we rely on a rule book to tell us, use your eyes and use your brain? Give me a break. It's so stupid. And then this guy just, these Jim Joyce, this idiot, this egomaniac who probably did this to garner some attention onto the game of baseball because they're trying to compete with the NFL. So that's probably another reason why they did that. Let's do something controversial so people can pay attention to our lousy sport, which has turned into a coat hanger abortion.
Zook, I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying because the two most famous obstruction calls or lack thereof that I can remember in big situations like this. Got to go back to Reggie Jackson in the baseline against the Dodgers. And then I also remember, these both involve the Yankees, obviously, for me, but Chuck Knobloch in the ALCS, when the ball went by. Now, both of those were probably much more likely to have been called than this one was, and neither one were called. Usually you kind of err on the side of a no call in that situation, which in this situation they didn't. They decided to make the call. Very unusual. I was surprised when I saw that. The baseline did appear clear. I mean, I'm sure not going to sit here and defend, Boston's rights for, fair calls and stuff, but I got to think they got jobbed on this one.
Oh, they definitely did. And listen, in my personal life, am I pulling for the Sox? Yeah, sure, because we're in Connecticut. I got a lot of friends and family that are Red Sox fans, but I'm being objective here. If the call went the other way to the Cardinals, I'd be just as upset because I don't like seeing games be, called unfairly and World Series games, being decided by stupidity, okay? And another thing I want to say, please, Yankee fans, not you, Ruggs, you're a good guy, I love you, but some of these Yankee fans, can you have 4 letters for you? STFU, okay? Please, I don't need to hear from you. You were the same people that were crying in 2004 when that scumbag A-Rod slapped the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's hands, out of his glove, egregiously, oh, by the way, and you were the same ones crying about that call. So stop it, okay? I don't need to hear from you, okay? Please go worry about the Giants or the Cowboys, like some of you losers who love the Giants and Cowboys, which makes no sense to me. So go worry about that. I don't need to hear from you about laughing at the Red Sox on Facebook and Twitter. Please, grow up. Be better. You're the Yankees. You represent the Yankees, the supposedly classiest and without a doubt, indubitably, the most successful sports franchise in the history of the planet. Please, be classy. Don't rain on the Red Sox parade, okay? Please. Because how would you like it if this was you were the victim of this call, and some dumb Red Sox fan went on Twitter and Facebook and started bashing you? Oh, please. And let me tell you, if this happened to the Yankees, oh, my God. Oh, my God. It would be like World War III. Can you imagine if this happened to if the Yankees were in the World Series and this happened to them? Oh, New York, forget it. It would have been nonstop Yankee calls about them crying for the and hey, justifiably so. Justifiably so. If this happened to the Yankees, and same thing. I'd be all upset for the Yankees too. I don't like calls like this. This is ridiculous, and it's bad for baseball. But you know what? Bud Selig's bad for baseball, so it's no surprise that it's under another controversial, terrible occurrence under his regime. And it's just a joke. This whole thing's just been a joke. I'm almost over baseball right now. It's just, I will say though, karma did present itself. It was pretty funny last night seeing the last out of the game, Colton Wong getting picked off. I guess a little poetic justice for the Red Sox last night, but it still stings. This might have cost the Sox a series. It's a call that shouldn't have been made, didn't need to be made. And you know what? Let's get replay. It's too late now. It's like, oh, now we're going to get replay next year. Well, you know what? It's a day late and a dollar short. It's just too bad that a World Series, and it was, I will agree with Greg Amsinger on one thing. It was a great game until that play. It really was. I was thoroughly entertained watching that game on Saturday night. But just terrible. Just a terrible, terrible call. I read the rule. I get it. But you know what destruction really is based on, Ruggs, and people don't get it? If Craig was coming around third base on a base hit to score, and let me ask you another question, Ruggs. Let me ask you another question. When a runner comes around third, where do they round the base?
Wide.
Okay.
Into the grass.
Where was Craig? He was on the inside.
Inside.
Yeah.
You're never supposed to be there.
Right. So obstruction really is really supposed to be when he comes around third, and if Middlebrooks was standing there,
blocks
standing there like, oh, duh, and he runs into him, then that's obstruction. Okay? I mean, give me a break. I don't want to hear it. Bad call. No one could convince me otherwise. No one, Jesus Christ himself could come down here and tell me it was obstruction. Sorry, Jesus, it's not. Don't want to hear it. Terrible call, but you know what? It's been a good World Series, nevertheless. But besides the fact, it's tied 2-2, which I kind of thought it was going to be. Last night's game was another entertaining game, and I expect tonight's game to be really good. Great pitch, another rematch between Lester and Wainwright, the Game 1 starters. We'll see what happens. I want to say Boston, but this game's in St. Louis. Will Wainwright be that bad again as he was in Game 1? I think not, but I think it's going to be another great game, and let's just hope the umpires stay the hell out of it, make the right calls, and let these guys play and let these guys determine who wins and loses, not you guys.
Well said, Zuki. Okay, we're going to go to break here on the Zuki and Ruggs Show, and we'll be back with some football. We're going to recap the week that was week number 8 on All Noise Radio.
Hickson has it. During Ford Truck Month, Hickson Ford in Leesville is your Ford Truck headquarters. And right now, get our best prices and largest discounts of the year. There's never been a better time to buy any Hickson Ford F-Series truck than now. Hickson has it. During Ford Truck Month, we have our best prices and largest discounts of the year. Remember, whether you shop us first or shop us last, don't you buy until you get our best price at our Ford Truck headquarters, Hickson Ford in Leesville.
All right, we're back here on All Noise Radio and allnoiseradio.com and our YouTube channel, the Zuki and Ruggs Show. We're going to talk about the NFL. We'll do a little recap on the Week 8 season. Of course, once again, we do this podcast before the Monday Night Football game, but it's pretty much a foregone conclusion there. We are expecting the Seattle Seahawks to smash the St. Louis Rams tonight. So we had not a very exciting week, to be completely honest with all of you. Let's just tell it like it is. Not very many exciting games. I was actually at a very boring game myself. I was in Philadelphia for the Giant-Eagle game. Ruggs, I'm not having very good luck at these games. I've been to 3 games live. Man, I was at Pittsburgh, Tennessee, week 1 in Pittsburgh. Terrible. I was at the Pittsburgh Jet game in the Meadowlands. Terrible. And I was at this Eagle-Giant game. Terrible. I mean, what the heck? This is just, I'm not having very good luck here. But nonetheless, we did have one great, tremendous ball game play, and which we expected to be a great game between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. Ruggs, earlier in the opening segment, I sounded like Des Bryant, flipping out and crying about the Red Sox and that terrible call and everything else. What do you think, Ruggs? Break down that game for everybody.
Well, it comes down to Dallas's defense just couldn't get it done again. When you have a 6-point lead and under 2 minutes to go and the other team doesn't have timeouts, you expect that you're going to be able to hold that. They basically set the game up to finish the way it did. They wanted to not allow Detroit to have any timeouts and very little time to move down the field and have to get a touchdown. That's why they went for the field goal at 27-24. They did just what they wanted to do. May have been the biggest play in the game, may have been, and they were, they broke this down a little bit on ESPN this morning, the holding call on Dallas because it stopped the clock. They still got the field goal. The yardage didn't really end up hurting them in that respect, but they got a free timeout on the penalty. Those extra 30 seconds may have been the difference in Detroit being able to muster that drive or not. Big play down the sidelines. Chris Durham had a 42-yard, I believe it was, reception down the sideline. You can't give that up. They let Skandrick let him run right past them. And it was a play to the sideline. Stafford threw it right on the money. Just really demoralizing for that Dallas defense to let that play get up. And then he kind of does a little Marino trickery there. He looks like he's going to spike the ball as the clock's running out. And instead he does a keeper quarterback sneak and gets in for the 1-yard touchdown with 12 seconds to go.
Not to cut you off, Ruggs. I will say that is an incredibly ballsy play by Matthew Stafford. I mean, because if he gets stopped there, the game is over. I could not believe the circumstance. That is such a gutsy play. Kudos to Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have seen the defense wasn't ready for it, but great play.
You know what I thought of? Because it almost looked like it was going to be the same exact play when Matt Leinart and USC played Notre Dame, because Reggie Bush was right behind him, and I thought he was going to push him in.
You got to go there, Ruggs.
Because he was
you
right.
You got to remind me about that
I know,
game.
but he was right behind Stafford,
You're
and
right.
I thought he was going to give him a little push him in because it looked like the same kind of play.
Which is still an illegal play. I'll never get over that game.
But he did restrain. He pulled his hands back. He actually didn't need to because Dallas just they can't tackle anybody anyway. Yeah. So they just gave him. After he bounced it to the outside, he just walked right in. But he was already, I believe, across the plane when he reached with the ball. So it would have been a moot point. But
great game. I mean, unbelievable. The most surprising stat that I saw, besides Megatron stats, which were just straight from a video game. It was as if, were they even playing defense on Calvin Johnson? Were they even covering him?
Not very well.
I guess that cover 2 work on Calvin Johnson. I guess Monty Kiffin needs to go back to the drawing board on that one. I mean, besides his stats, as I was saying, the most amazing stat that I saw this game is the fact that Dallas's defense, they forced 4 turnovers and still lost the game.
Right. And Romo played.
That's surprising. You don't see that, man. Usually when you force 4 turnovers, man, you usually win the game, you know?
Right, and Romo played pretty restrained. Like his numbers weren't huge. He was better in the, especially in the fourth quarter. He had a good showing.
Yeah.
He almost game managed the first 3 quarters. It was a low scoring game. It was 13-7, I believe. With about 5 minutes to go in the third, it was 13-7, and then kind of things started taking off. But kind of what you want to see out of Romo, where he didn't make any big mistakes to cost him the game, and then the defense let him down. It was a huge win. It was a bigger game. We talked about it a little bit during the predictions of last week. It was a much bigger game for Detroit because the way the NFC is shaping up, I think the positions in the playoffs are pretty well set right now. I mean,
right.
The only if Dallas just the 2 questions for me going in the second half of the season in the NFC is Dallas going to be able to hold on to that division title, because you're only getting one team out of the East.
Right.
To me, it's either Dallas or the Giants are going to rally and take them over, because I think Philadelphia and Washington are dead. I don't see either of those teams making a comeback.
I'll say this, Ruggs. Like I said, I was at the game. I cannot, but can you believe? I can't believe that just 2 weeks ago the Eagles were in first place in the division.
I know.
They do, and let me tell you something. If that's a first place team, oh my God.
Wow. And
oh my God, that they did not look like a team that even belonged in the league. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, honestly, I think Temple could have gone out there and beaten them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. It was bad. But like you said, yeah. I mean, honestly, about Dallas, I don't know, man. I don't know if they can win it. I hate to say it. Yeah. Don't be if the Giants win a couple games here.
I think they can.
I think they're right back in it.
If the Giants could get to 8-8,
they're right back in it. I'm telling you, they go on a bye this week. The Giants, then they
come off with Oakland.
They got the Raiders. Yeah. Then they're home to Green Bay on Sunday night. Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, they win those 2 games. They're 4-6. I expect Dallas to win this week. We'll get into our picks later, but I'll just say, I mean, it's not anything shocking or surprising. I think me and Ruggs both are going to pick Dallas to beat Minnesota this coming week. But yeah, the Giants, they can get right back in this thing. It's just
they could. That's one division, question I have, and my other question is
that division's just a joke, to be honest with you.
Who's going to get the other one? The 49ers are going to get one.
It looks
or
like
Seattle. I mean, you pick which way. I'm going to pick Seattle to win the division like I did all year. San Fran will get the wild card number 1, number 5 seed. Number 6 seed, it's either going to be Detroit or Chicago the way it looks right now. And Chicago, my other question is, can they hang in there without Cutler?
Think so. I mean, honestly, yeah. You know what? If they had a full squad, and now not even just Cutler, they lost. Like I said, like we said last week, they lost Lance Briggs. The defense is kind of falling apart. I don't. You never know, but I don't think so. I agree. I think it's looking like
Charles
Detroit.
Tillman's injured. They have a lot of injuries.
You're right. I think it's Detroit, Green Bay, and don't also.
Well, I mean, you got to. To me, Green Bay is going to win that division. So Detroit had to win this game to stay in the wild card.
Well, hey,
they already have a win over them.
I know they got the same record, Ruggs. That Thanksgiving game is going to be big.
It'll be big. That I'll say this: Detroit has to beat them on Thanksgiving.
I agree.
To have a chance at the division.
Well said. I agree.
That's the
and you're right. And also, let's not. I will say this: do not sleep on. Well, I don't mean you personally. I mean generally. I'm saying let's not sleep on the Carolina Panthers.
That was the one other team I was going to say has a chance. 4-3.
They got some steam. Yeah. They're gaining some steam now, and they got a pretty easy game coming up this week, which we'll get into again. Yeah. I should say easy. No game's easy, but winnable. So yeah, the Carolina Panthers also trying to make some noise in there. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. The wild card race in the NFC is going to be very exciting.
But I feel like it's down to really about 8 teams for 6 spots right now. It's very early in the year to be that many teams out of it. But that's just the way the NFC is kind of shaping up.
Not very competitive, or parity wise, right. not much parity as opposed to the AFC, which seems to be some parity. But again,
exactly.
You know what though, we're getting to the nitty gritty here. We're getting to the point of the year where you're starting to see who's bad and who's. Earlier in the year, we're kind of like, well, it's only a few games, only 3 games, only 4 games. Now we're starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, Pittsburgh's 2-6, they're done. Teams like that.
That game killed me. I didn't think that 2 years in a row. That's another one I wanted to talk about.
I cannot believe the Steelers lost that game. I was coming back home from Philly and I'm listening to the radio. I cannot believe they were down 20. I cannot believe the first play from scrimmage they let Terrell Pryor go 93 yards. I'm like, really, guys? It's like really. You realize You know what you're playing with Terrell Pryor. You know the team you're going against. You played these guys last year, and you come out like that. And then Sweezum didn't help. He stayed. I mean,
that cost him
that
huge.
killed him.
Huge.
You missed two field goals.
He makes either one of those, they probably come out with a win.
They win. Or tie,
yeah,
or at least something. Give your team a chance. They drive down the field, make a kick.
Because Oakland was holding on at the end of that game. They were pretty much done and just trying to hang on and have the clock run out.
Right. I think the Steelers defense made an adjustment.
Yeah,
they made an adjustment.
That fourth quarter was all Pittsburgh, but at that point it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Cost me my football slip, so I'm not happy about that. That's the only game I missed, and I didn't win because somebody went perfect. Nice. They have Seattle tonight, so I can't make up any ground there. But that's the only game I missed on my picks last week. But it was kind of an easier week. I between the two of us, we did pretty well in our.
Were you flipping out like Dez? You pulled a Dez on that one. That's frustrating when you lose.
I felt like
when you lose. Yeah, when you lose one game on the sheet and someone's got a perfect sheet, you did a Dez.
Yeah. I was going to get into a little bit of a discussion. I figured we'd go at it a little bit about Dez Bryant and whether or not he's good for a team or bad for a team. And somebody asked me that yesterday, what I thought, whether or not he was a cancer to the Dallas Cowboys, or could he be really a helpful player to a team with his attitude. My answer was kind of, it sounds like a cop-out, but I think it depends on the team, because that kind of guy, a passionate guy like that, it flips out and gets in the quarterback's face. If you can handle him, and Dallas seems like most, Witten was going at it with him. It seemed like he was really under Jason Witten's skin. You had to have DeMarcus Ware separate him. Garrett seemed like he was fine with it. They talked to Tony Romo after the game. He was fine with it. Jerry Jones was fine with it. If everybody, you got to get everybody, though. And Witten obviously was very perturbed by the way he was acting and his conduct on the sidelines. If you get everybody on board and you can handle and deal with this guy the way he is, then I think it doesn't bother you. And, you take his talent and it supersedes what he does antics-wise. But if you put him on some teams and he acts like that and it just breaks down the other guys, and it'll lead right to a 6-10 kind of season. It'll really be a cancer to the clubhouse. I'm not sure which way you take it with them right now. The sideshow that is the Dallas Cowboys anyway, probably one of the only places he could get away with doing this. And I don't know what your take is. I couldn't see, he wouldn't want him on the Buffalo Bills, I'll tell you that. I know I wouldn't want him on the Falcons. He's got to be on a certain kind of team to be able to get away with that. But what do you think about that?
I've got Stevie Johnson, who's known for dumb antics as well. I was actually at a game in New England when he was benched for the rest of the game by former coach Chan Gailey for a stupid antic in the end zone after scoring a touchdown. Listen, these receivers, they're fiery guys. They're glory hounds. They're egomaniacs. They're me players. We've seen Dez Bryant's before. I mean, I got 2 letters for you, T.O. I mean, it's tough. Dez Bryant, the player's a phenomenal ball player. Dez Bryant, the person, he's just unfortunately, he's not. I don't know how good of a guy he is. I don't think he's a good guy at all, unfortunately. This guy who choked his mother. I mean, he got into multiple issues in college, which is why he slipped in the draft at 24. If he had a decent head on his shoulders, he would have been a top 5 pick without a shadow of a doubt. It's tough to say. I hate to see young men. He is a young man. I'd love to see someone take him under their wing and try to guide the guy, try to point him in the right direction. But there gets to a point where you just want to give up on someone. I don't know. It sucks when you have to babysit an adult. Babysitting an adult sucks. It's unnecessary. I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I'd love to have Dez Bryant, the player, on my team.
Sure.
That's for sure. Dez Bryant, the person. Maybe a team like Buffalo wouldn't be bad. A desolate city, not much to do. A lot of snow. Be stuck inside.
True, that would help him in his the field thing.
Yeah, right. But I don't know, man. Let's see. It's tough to say. Listen, football's a fiery game. It's an intense sport.
It is.
You got to be an intense guy. I will say this. I've played flag football games with my buddies, and I've been wide open on plays, and they don't throw the ball to me, and I get pissed. So I can't imagine in a huge game.
Well, it's this.
In the NFL, you're wide open, and your quarterback doesn't find you. It could be frustrating, but you don't want to ever on the sideline show up your quarterback, because your quarterback, when you're a receiver, let me tell you something. The guy, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. Okay, Dez Bryant. And I don't like that too much when receivers throw their quarterbacks under the bus, but in the same respect, I also don't like when quarterbacks throw the receivers under the bus as well. And you see that with some quarterbacks too. After a play, they'll look at the receiver and yell at him and say, "You ran the wrong route." So it happens. Unfortunately, in football, that's the way it goes. It's like any other job, Ruggs. Like it's like a construction job, or somebody does something wrong, you're gonna get yelled at. And then so it happens. You got to remember, this is work for these guys, and sometimes guys get reprimanded. So maybe Des Bryant was reprimanding Tony Romo or the offense, and or something like that, and someone didn't like it. Witten didn't like it, and I wouldn't read too much into it in this particular circumstance. I just think it's an isolated incident. But he's the same guy who said he was just as good as Calvin Johnson. Well, that was laid to rest on Sunday. Thanks, Megatron. I love you. I love you. Thank you for the fantasy points. Love you, buddy.
All right, and we're going to go to break here on All Noise Radio, and we'll be back with our predictions. All Noise Radio and allnoiseradio.com.
Everybody hates car accidents, especially from bad brake pads. So choose Callahan brake pads. They're durable, dependable, and come with an outstanding sales and customer service. Tommy Callahan says,
Our new brake pads are really cool.
but if you do think that other brake pads are just as good, just ask our associate what happens when you choose the other guy's brake pads.
You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, "I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy! Not now! Truck tire! I can't stop! Help!"
Don't set your family on fire. Choose Callahan brake pads.
All Noise Radio.
Powered by Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
All noise, all the time.
Back on the Zuki and Ruggs Show, we're discussing week number 9, and it's already week number 9. I cannot believe it. We're going to do our predictions, and we'll start with the game on Halloween night down in South Beach, Miami, hosting the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
What do you think about this one, Zook?
Well, Cincinnati coming off an impressive victory against the New York Jets, which we saw coming. They just totally embarrassed the Jets there and tempered every Jet fan's enthusiasm, brought them back down to earth a little bit. And the Miami Dolphins, who again suffered a crushing loss in New England. They had that game won. They had Brady down, and the Dolphins do what they usually do. They choke. I actually see the Dolphins, again, going down the downward spiral here. And the Bengals are just hot. They're just in fuego. Who used to say that on SportsCenter back in the day? I like Cincinnati here to win this ball game. They're favored by 1 point right now. I think they'll do. I think it'll be more. I don't like Miami's defense at all. Miami's defense is just really struggling. I don't think Miami will be able to establish any kind of running game. I don't think Miami will be able to do anything really offensively. Their offensive line's terrible. Tannehill's been shaky. For as good as this team was in the beginning, the first few weeks of the year, again, we were talking about in the last segment. You're starting to see the team's true colors, so to speak. You're starting to see the team's true colors, and we're starting to see Miami Dolphins' true colors here. Not very good, so I'm taking the Bengals.
All right, this is a tough one for me because I don't like the way Miami plays at home. I don't like the way Cincinnati plays on the road. So I have a very tough call. Usually you default to the home team when you're kind of unsure about a game. I'm not going to do it this time, though. I'm going to default to Cincinnati because even though Cincinnati's looked putrid in a couple games on the road, they've also eked a couple games out. I think that's what they're going to do in this one. Miami just really, other than their home opener, when they beat my Falcons, have just looked awful in their other home games. And I feel like they had a good effort this week in New England in the first half and then just kind of got worn out and just worn down.
How do you lose that game?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Miami's going to win. How do you let that game go? You have New England. They were dominating them.
Tannehill's regressing, I think. He's not the same player he was early in the season. His line is a main reason for that. It's terrible. Cincinnati's just got a nasty front. Those guys, Geno Atkins and those guys are just going to eat the offensive line of Miami up for lunch. Miami doesn't have a steady running game to stop that charge, so they're going to pin their ears back, get down, and just come after them from the edges. Miami's deep threat Mike Wallace really hasn't been doing too much lately. I mean, they could take advantage of Leon Hall being out injured, and that's a major thing going forward for Cincinnati. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor in this game. But I expect a low-scoring game, though, because even though Miami's defense, I think they'll keep Dalton down, hold them. It'll probably be something like a 16-10 kind of game. But I like Cincinnati in this one just because I think they have a little bit more on offense with A.J. Green in the running game. And they'll get through.
Dalton's been great the last few games.
Yeah.
Dalton's been unbelievable.
I still want to see him do it consistently, but I do agree with you there.
All right. Well said, buddy. All right. Now we're going to go to the Sunday games, the 1 o'clock games. We'll say this. Didn't touch on the Buffalo-New Orleans game last week. I subconsciously missed that one because I knew New Orleans was going to crush them, and they did so. So my 3-5 Buffalo Bills are actually home to host the 8-0 Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be a phenomenal ball game. I'm going to tell you why it's going to be a phenomenal ball game. Because the Buffalo Bills are going to win. You heard it here.
Wow,
I am predicting the Buffalo Bills to win, baby. My Bills are going to pull it off. And unfortunately for me, it's going to be bittersweet because you know how I feel about the 72 Dolphins. But I'm going to say they're going to be toasting champagne. And I'm going to be flipping them the bird with one hand and screaming, throwing up another number one with my other hand. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, baby, to get a W. Let's go, Buffalo.
This is why I want to switch off games because I'm picking the Bills also.
I stole your thunder.
Yeah, people are going to be like, "Oh, you're just piggybacking on Duke."
I'll kick you back the Falcon game, okay,
right,
baby?
Let's go to the next game.
No. Break it down. What do you think? You like Buffalo? Tell me why. I'm a fan here, damn it. You be the objective guy here.
Kansas City plays games that keep you in it. That's Alex Smith, what he does for you. He plays clean games, but they're not going to blow anybody out other than maybe the Giants. I think Buffalo is kind of built to play low-scoring, close games at home. If we're not into the part of the year where the weather's really going to be an issue, so I don't expect that to play in the favor of Buffalo, but I just like the way the Bills' defense is playing. I mean, they had Drew Brees to deal with last week. You can't really.
In New Orleans,
I throw that game out in the dome.
Yeah.
Everybody's
well said.
He's lighting everybody up this year. I expect them to have a little different remedy for Alex Smith than you're going to have for Drew Brees. And to me, Jamal Charles hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. He's been getting his yards, but it's on volume. The Kansas City defense is still very good, and that's why I think Buffalo's going to play it close to the vest, play a low-scoring game, take care of the football, kind of the way the Kansas City Chiefs do things, and at home. And I think, Buffalo's one of those places. It's always tough to get a win. They've done this to teams before that have had real good records, have gone in there and have come out with a loss, and I just kind of get a feeling that Buffalo's going to do it this time.
But tell everybody what I'm wearing, Ruggies.
He's got his Bills sweatshirt on.
Damn right. Damn right. All right. You want to take a game? I'll give you a game, Ruggs. The Atlanta Falcons coming off How was the Ruggiero household yesterday? Were you just were you just disgusted with that game? But anyway,
luckily
I'm going to let
for them, I was at work.
Oh, jeez, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, the Atlanta Falcons traveled to the upstart Carolina Panthers, who we were just talking about, who were 4-3, coming off 3 wins in a row, coming off a drubbing of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday night. Carolina looking to get to 5-3. So what do you got there, Ruggies?
Yeah, they're going to get to 5-3. They don't. At least, always with the Falcons, they'd give you a fight and they'd figure out a way to lose the game late, but they're not even do that this week. They didn't show up at all. They're just going downhill fast. And I mean, it's one of those things. Sounds bad to say as a fan, but if you're not going to win it, there's no reason to go 6-10 or 7-9. You might as well tank, get a better draft pick.
Spoken like a true fan.
Seriously, don't get the hopes up for the whole season. Just let it is what it is. You rest your players. You don't need Roddy White trying to be a hero, playing every game hurt and not helping at all. Sit him out, shut him down for the year if necessary. I don't know if he'll be done for the year, but he's not playing this week, I don't believe. It'll be his 3rd game in a row and plus the bye week. So, the month off that he really needed to start the year with, it would have been better off if he had just done that. Cam Newton's playing great right now. his boyhood team, the Atlanta Falcons. He loves to play well against them. He always has. I think they're going to just, Falcons can't stop anybody running the football. We saw that yesterday. Ellington ran all over him. Watch D'Angelo Williams. If you have him on your fantasy team, he's going to have a huge day.
I do.
I think they'll burn him deep a couple times with Steve Smith. If Brandon LaFell can catch the ball, he should have a big day too. I mean, but he drops about every
Teddy
other
Ginn
pass.
might give him trouble.
Teddy Ginn might have a punt return touchdown.
Or not, or even a long touchdown.
Or a long touchdown catch,
Yeah.
I just see it being a big win. Double digit. They'll win by more than 10.
I have to agree, Ruggs. Unfortunately, right now the line's 9.5. So, unfortunately, Ruggs, for the Falcons, the wheels have come off rather quickly. I can't see them competing in this game. Carolina's hot right now, and Atlanta's not. Simple as that. There's nothing I can. I was positive on the Falcons last week in that Arizona game, and after watching the Falcons last night, there's nothing that comes out of Atlanta they give me no positive hope.
No.
Nothing to be positive about.
Just shows you how bad Tampa Bay is.
Yeah. So, I just think Carolina's going to take that game, get to 5-3, and let's see if they can make a run at the wild card here. I mean, they're even talking division, but I think that might be a stretch. I mean, you got to keep talking division.
Yeah, I think it's a stretch too. But
you know what? Good for them. Let them keep talking. I mean, let them stay positive, keep winning ball games. Another 1:00 game here. We got the 1-6 Minnesota Vikings. Traveling to Dallas. Dallas looking for some revenge here. And obviously looking to try to stay in first place. The line's 10.5. The game's in Dallas. I can't argue with that one. I think Dallas was going to be pretty fumed about losing the game. It was a heartbreaking loss. Detroit, obviously, as we covered already. Got to go with Dallas here, and pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to play quarterback for the Vikings? That's the biggest question, whether or not they're going to win the game, because I don't think they are. I think they'll go back to Freeman personally. I don't know that it matters as far as I think the direction that the Vikings are going to take in the future. It does matter. I think you got to run Freeman out there and see what you have. If you're the Vikings, you're going to pay the guy the money, bring him over here. You got to see what you have, because you already kind of know what Christian Ponder is going to do for you, and everybody knows what Matt Castle would do for you. So
Sure.
My only concern when you're Dallas, and they do this a lot, if it's not going well early, be careful, because they could, things could get ugly there. There could be some sideline rumblings and what have you. I don't think it's going to be a problem, though. I think they're going to jump them and get out in front. But, if this game's like 10-10 in the second, they're down like, say, a field goal or something at halftime, you always got to worry about the circus that is the Dallas Cowboys. But I think they win easily after, getting it. They'll get it cranking by the second half and pull away.
Well said, Ruggs. Well, also, we got some injury. You got some injuries to think about here in terms of Dallas. Will DeMarco Murray come back? That'll be a big addition for them. That'll be a big help for the Cowboys as well. That'll present some matchup problems for that porous Vikings defense. I hear what you're saying. I could see perhaps maybe some scenarios where the game could be respectable, but I just, maybe if Josh Freeman plays well and Adrian Peterson's motivated. I think Peterson's a big Cowboy fan. Isn't he from down there? I mean, we know what that Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
He's from Texas, I think, isn't he? AP? So he might be motivated, but then again, we'll see. But I think Dallas will take that game and get to 5-4 here. Next game on the schedule, we have the 6-1 New Orleans Saints, again coming off an impressive win over the Buffalo Bills. Travel to the Meadowlands to take on the 4-4 New York Football Jets. Yeah, I mean, after watching the Jets yesterday against the Bengals, just getting abused by Andy Dolan and Marvin Jones with the 4 touchdowns, unreal. I mean, if you're the Jets, you got to be thinking, oh, God, we made the Bengals look like the greatest team on earth. Now we got to play the Saints. I know the game's in the Meadowlands. If the game was in New Orleans, forget it. Oh, my God. The Saints might hang 60 on them. But it's in the Meadowlands. But, I think that'll just help the Jets a little bit. But I got to like the Saints here. Drew Brees is cranking. The defense is playing. Rob Ryan has fixed that defense and made it a respectable defense. I just think the young man, Geno Smith, I know the Jets are due for the good game. They're one good game, one bad game. But I think that streak ends here. I think they're going to be in line for 2 bad games in a row. And this is actually one thing, Ruggs, that I actually spoke about earlier in the season, that when they got to their good start, when they beat Buffalo, Jet fans got excited, and I said, hey, Jet fans, take it easy, because I'm looking at your schedule here, and you might win 2 games the rest of the way. Well, this stretch of the schedule just started last week, and we saw how it went. And this schedule gets brutal for the Jets. It is not fair for the Jets. So get used to the fact that we're probably going to be picking against the Jets from here on out pretty much, outside of maybe a couple games here. I like New Orleans to pretty much smoke them.
Yeah, I mean, even if it is a back and forth, good week, bad week for the Jets, a good week might just be making the game competitive. I think the Saints will win pretty handily. They don't, they just don't have enough guys to cover all the weapons that the Saints have. I mean, the Jets, they're stout against the run. New Orleans doesn't really care about running the ball very much. They're not a blitz-happy type of team to get pressure on Breeze. Nope. They're going to rely on their, front to get pressure on their own, and Drew Brees will just have one-on-one matchups all day. He'll have Jimmy Graham across the middle. Really tough. And the only way I would have given the Jets a real chance to win this game is if they had last year's defense playing for the Saints, but they don't. They've, kind of revamped. They're turnover prone anyway, the Jets are, and New Orleans has been forcing a lot of turnovers. I see that trend continuing. They might keep it within, say, 2 scores. I still see the Saints winning pretty handily.
There you go. Another 1 o'clock game we have here. Won't spend too much time on it. It's kind of a boring game, but the 3-4 Tennessee Titans travel to the St. Louis Rams. Just one of those games you go to the bathroom during when the highlights come on. I'll spend a couple seconds on this game. I'll go with Tennessee. Too many injuries for the Rams. Just not enough talent right now. The Bradford injury is going to end up just killing them. They might not even win another game. I know I was a big, basher of Bradford, but let's be honest. I mean, at least the guy gave him a chance to win a game. Kellen Clemens, Jesus Christ. And Tennessee, hey, they still got a chance to get in this thing. They win this game, they get to 4-4. They're coming off a bye week. So a week to rest for Jake Locker and the rest of those guys. Yeah, I like Tennessee to win this game.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be Fitzpatrick playing this game from what I've heard. But,
okay.
Either way, I agree. I think the bye helps Tennessee. It's a terrible game, but it's actually like one of those that really makes you think about picking because it's kind of closely matched in many respects because both teams are just very mediocre. But I like Tennessee. I think they're a little bit better than their record indicates, whereas St. Louis I don't think is as good as their record indicates. So I'm taking Tennessee. I just don't think Kellen Clemens gives you a very good chance to win a game. And Tennessee can run the football. St. Louis has shown really they can't. And, Tennessee have a very good defense. I mean, just very quietly, kind of under the radar, but their defense is one of the better ones in the league. And, I just think that the defense travels well normally, and I think they'll come out on top in that game.
Nice. And in the final 1 o'clock game we have, the San Diego Chargers, the 4-3 Chargers, who are fighting for a wild card spot there, travel to Washington to face the Redskins, who came off a crushing defeat in Denver. Looked like they had a chance to pull an upset there, and then, of course, Peyton Manning grabbed the reins and said, enough is enough, and we all know what happened after that. I think it was, 38 unanswered points for the Denver Broncos to finish them out, to push the Redskins to 2-5. Chargers are also coming off a bye week, as many teams are. What do you think, Ruggs? What do you got in that? This is actually a pretty intriguing game. What do you think, Ruggs?
Yeah, I kind of like. I'm taking San Diego here. I think they're another team that's a little better than their record indicates. I think they're mediocre, in the grand scheme of things, and I don't think they have a chance in the AFC. I've heard some people say that they're a wild card contender. I think they'll drop out eventually. But this week, coming off the bye, Phillip Rivers playing pretty well. Defense has been a lot better, and it was a maligned unit coming into the year. People thought it was going to be a terrible defense, and it really hasn't been. They were good against Andrew Luck and the Colts. I mean, I was really impressed with the way they played. They've had a couple of good outings this year that have really kind of turned some heads. Obviously, they have to score points also, and Phillip Rivers is going to have to be on point to win this game. But I'm gonna go with San Diego.
Yeah, well said, Ruggies. I'm actually, my head tells me San Diego for some reason. I keep wanting to go back to the Washington Redskins. I'll say this: I think if Kirk Cousins ends up starting this game. We don't know the full report on RG3 yet. It was something with his knee. They're saying minor, but minor. Geez, anytime you hear something with RG3's knee, the word minor doesn't correlate with that. But I will say, for argument's sake, if Cousins plays this game, I definitely agree with you. I think San Diego's going to win this ball game. And I think the Redskins' defense is still pretty shaky. And I think that San Diego's offense is pretty good, especially if Ryan Matthews starts running like they expected him to run when they drafted him. And if he's fully healthy, the bye week's obviously going to help. He was playing well before the bye week anyway, but now with a week of rest, I think that only helps Ryan Matthews, and it helps guys like Gates, helps those veterans, Gates and Rivers. So I think they can win this game, but for some reason, I don't know why, I keep wanting to go back to the Redskins. I think if I'll leave it at this. I think if RG3 plays, I think the Redskins will find a way to win this ball game. Don't ask me why. They're home. I think Alfred Morris can actually. I will say this. I think that matchup is trouble for the Chargers. I think Alfred Morris can really pound the ball against the Chargers, and I think they'll be able to establish the run and really dictate the game with Morris. But I think it's actually going to be a really good football game. I really do think it's going to be one of the better 1 o'clock games, if not the best.
Yeah,
so,
if this game went to overtime, it wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, it's well said. So I'm gonna go with that. I know it's kind of wishy-washy, but hey, that's the kind of guy I am, I guess. If RG3 plays, Redskins. If it's Cousins, I got the Chargers. All right, Ruggs. Well, we got to take a break, and after this break, we're gonna pick up the rest of the games on All Noise Radio.
Do you have a friend or loved one who suffers from, verbal diarrhea?
God, did you see what
is
she
it
was
so
wearing?
bad that it is
Like
ruining
her
your
shoes?
family functions or intimate moments?
I mean,
I can't take it anymore. I just feel like poking my eyes out when they ramble on and on and on.
Hello, I'm Dr. Joel Horowitz, and fortunately for you, we at Know-It-All Labs have developed a treatment for this growing epidemic known as sedate phobia, or fear of silence.
Taken once daily, this oral remedy known as synthetic transparent ferric uranium, or commonly referred to as STFU, will begin the healing process.
STFU saved my marriage. Now I can get through an entire movie and actually hear the words. And I don't think about crashing the car every time we go for a family trip. Thank you, STFU.
For everyone who has had to endure a life without peace and quiet, STFU is for you. Results may vary. Side effects are not common, but may include psychotic episodes, loss of testosterone, bleeding of the auditory canal, and pestilence. Use as directed.
WCSB. Yeah!
The noise you
Can't ignore. What?
Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Here on the Zuki and Ruggs Show on tap. Oh, God. Speaking of the aforementioned abysmal Philadelphia Eagles, travel to the, I got to say, the upstart or the mind-boggling, who knows, Oakland Raiders, who are 3-4. I don't know which Oakland Raiders team's going to show up, but after seeing what I saw from the Eagles yesterday, bro, live, in living color, in person, I cannot pick the Eagles. My God, they are Ruggs. I tell you, they're bad. They're bad, and not even the fact that their personnel's bad. Their coaching is bad. Ruggs, do you realize the Eagles yesterday had 8 rushing yards at halftime? 8 rushing yards at halftime.
Yeah,
they had 72 yards of offense at halftime. It was putrid. And Chip Kelly, a word of advice: if you want to keep your job in the NFL, you have an elite running back, you may want to try to give him the ball. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I mean, one and one always equals 2. I mean, Jesus Christ, can you give the ball to LaShawn McCoy? After what I saw from the Eagles yesterday, bro, got to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm so hesitant to take the Raiders in these kind of games. It cost me yesterday, though, because I did have a little twinge to maybe take them against Pittsburgh. The reason I didn't is because the year before they had just kind of won a very similar game, and I didn't think they could do it 2 years in a row. I'm going to take the Raiders here because of what you said, how bad the Philadelphia Eagles have played, and it looks like it'll be Barkley again, very likely. Oof. And, because Vic's hamstring is still shot. Foles, who knows?
Is he still on Dream Street, Foles?
Yeah, you can't count a guy that's got concussion symptoms. You can't count on him to play. So you got to err on the side of who you think you're going to have starting behind center, and it's going to be Matt Barkley. And even Oakland, I think, as many times as they've kind of blown these games for me, I mean, I really thought they were going to beat Washington too when they had, RG3 limping in there, and they laid an egg.
And McFadden looks good. He looked good
yesterday.
He did. That bye week may have helped him.
Terrell Pryor, it's a little bit of a different team than it was maybe early in the season. Pryor's kind of established now. I think Philly's defense is going to have trouble handling him. The way Pittsburgh's did. I'm going to take Oakland in this game, and Oakland's kind of climbing slowly toward respectability.
Yeah, they win this game, they'll be 4-4. Another 4:00 game. Jeez, I mean, it just gets tougher for Seattle. Oh my God, so tough for. What are these schedule makers doing here? I mean, how come bad teams last year getting these tough schedules? Seattle hosts Tampa Bay. I mean, really? Oh my God. I mean, we'll spend 3 seconds on this game. Let me say, Seattle.
Well, this will be the only thing that's interesting about this game is I think of the coaching matchup. I'd love to see Greg Schiano and Pete Carroll marching up and down and rah like it's an NCAA.
Schiano ain't rah nothing.
No, I know.
Did you see him on Thursday? Dude didn't even look. He looked like he didn't want to be there. He was home.
He might be checked out because he's going to be checked out pretty soon.
I think if Seattle, I think Seattle's going to beat him. I think it's going to be.
If
ugly.
it's an embarrassing enough loss, it could be
Seattle's
for him.
Seattle's a 17-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could dump him after this game. It's potentially.
That's going to be a nightmare.
Last game Greg Schiano coaches, it's definitely the potential for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Seattle, obviously, in a big way. Tampa Bay's defense, it is pretty decent.
Yeah.
And Seattle's offense, at times can slump in and out, and they can kick a lot of field goals sometimes and not look super impressive, but their defense is great. Tampa Bay isn't going to score very much at all. I think Glennon's going to get pounded. Look for it to be a double-digit win for Seattle, even if it's, kicking a lot of field goals and scoring a couple safeties.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We have another game here, 4:25. The Baltimore Ravens, the 3-4 Ravens, coming off a bye week, travel to Cleveland, who actually gave Kansas City one hell of a fight. They gave them a hell of a challenge. Hats off to the Browns. They gave the Chiefs all they could handle, but unfortunately came up short. And I got to say, Jason Campbell, a guy that I think we both made fun of, actually played pretty well yesterday. So, good job by him. Baltimore's a 1-point favorite. The game is in Cleveland. What do you think, Ruggies?
I'm going to take the Ravens in this game. I think having the week off will help. Yeah, this will be an ugly game, but the Ravens really are the only team that has a shot at that AFC North the only team that has a shot other than the Bengals. I mean, the only team that can catch them. They know they have to have this one. If they lose to Cleveland, that basically puts them on level with Cleveland for second place, and they're going to, if the Bengals win, especially Thursday night, they'll be another game behind. They really have to have this one, and I think their defense coming off this bye will be rested, and I think they'll put up it's going to be a low-scoring game in my opinion, but I think the Ravens just have a couple of weapons too many. Torrey Smith probably have a big catch in this game. And with Ray Rice, as long as they keep the formula, they use him once in a while because Flacco's been throwing the ball more than he ever has. I don't know if he's trying to justify the contract, what his deal is, but I think their offense has been way too pass happy this year. I think that's the one thing they got to avoid in this one. I'll take Baltimore in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Baltimore as well. I think the bye week came at a perfect time for them. They definitely needed it. Let's see if they took the week to make some adjustments on offense. Like you said, Ruggs, good point. Got to get Ray Rice the ball some more. I think the week off's also going to help guys like Jacoby Jones, the defense as well, lick up their wounds a little bit. Also, take a look in the mirror. Sometimes when you're a team, and I picked Baltimore to win the division, not looking like it's going to happen unless Cincinnati goes the other way, which I don't think they are. I think Cincinnati's starting to peak here. But anyway, if you're Baltimore, you're trying to get back to 500 here to 4-4. Take a look in the mirror and say, hey, we're the defending Super Bowl champions. We got to start playing like it. Let's go here. Let's wake up and get it going. Let's go in there and let's do what we usually do. Let's beat Cleveland. Okay, let's just win this game, get to 500, and then they host Cincinnati the week after. And that's going to be a huge game. I mean, they got Cincinnati coming in their house week 10. So, if you're Baltimore, you got to win this game. Because then if you lose this game, it's going to get real ugly real quick, as you said, because then you got Cincinnati coming in your house. You could be staring at 3-6. So, I expect Baltimore to handle their business here and win this game. I know it was a close game the first time in Baltimore. It was 14-6, 7? It was 13-6. It was a real close game, real ugly too.
Cleveland had them at the half, and then
it was real ugly. Like you said, real ugly. I could expect to see that as well, but let's see how Baltimore does here. I think this game is going to be a pretty good indication of how that bye week, either that bye week helped Baltimore or it didn't help Baltimore. Let's see how it goes. But I like Baltimore to win the game. Anyhow, a big game. Well, it was supposed to be a big game. Usually is a big game. Not so much this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the 2-5 Steelers, coming off a again, a crushing defeat at the hands of the Oakland Raiders, travel to New England to take on the 6-2 Patriots, who seem vulnerable. The line's 7 points right now, Ruggs. I'm going to do it. I don't know why. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to surprise the New England Patriots. I think they're going to win this game. I don't like what I'm seeing from New England. I don't think Tom Brady, it's getting to the point where I do wonder if there's something wrong physically. I really do, because it's just, it doesn't seem like this thing's turning around. I'm tired of hearing about, it's going to turn around, it's going to get better. Brady, it's not happening. It's like standing on the dock and waiting for the boat. Eventually, the boat ain't coming, man. You missed the boat. And not to say the career is over for Tom Brady, but I wonder if something happened to him physically with the hand. Something may have happened to him, because even if, going back to earlier in the year, he was missing throws that he never misses. I don't know. I don't know if it's age. I mean, he is 36. I mean, he's no spring chicken here. I don't know if it's just a nagging injury. That's what it looks like to me. And for some reason, I just think Pittsburgh's going to do it. I know they're coming off a bad loss in Oakland, but Pittsburgh's a funny team like that. They'll lose a game. They have no business losing. You're thinking, this team is dead. They're not going to show up. And they show up, and they, a good indication of that is last year at the Giant Stadium. Not Giant Stadium, MetLife. They came into that game. I said, there's no way they're going to win this game. They were struggling, and they went in there and beat the Giants and really kind of cost the Giants a playoff spot. So, for some reason, I know they never do it. I know they never really beat New England, especially in Foxborough, but I don't know. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pick. I would take the Steelers with the exception of one thing. They don't stop the run well enough for me, and that's a weird thing to say about Pittsburgh. You're used to them being very stout defensively, steel curtain from years gone by, and they've always been a tough defense to run against. I think Stephen Ridley can have a big day running the football against them. I mean, they didn't stop McFadden yesterday. Terrell Pryor ran. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have Tom Brady running all over you like Terrell Pryor did, but I think Tom Brady's shoulder is really the issue. He's had he had a big issue over the offseason with that shoulder, and whether or not, the thing's going to need surgery, rest, whatever. I mean, like you said, the age is catching up to him. The best days of his career are behind him, but I still think, he's got some things left in the tank. I think he'll have enough with, what limited resources and talent he's got around him. As long as they run the football, the defensive injuries are concerning, though, for New England as much as anything. I think, if Pittsburgh was a little more dangerous on their offensive end, I'd be real hesitant to pick New England here. But you got to show me something if you're Emmanuel Sanders and Antonio Brown and Heath Miller. This passing attack, I mean, they woke up a little bit in the last few minutes of the game last week against Oakland. They pretty much took the rest of the game off, and they're not going to be able to do that this week. I'm going to take New England, real tight one. I think it'll be a good ball game. I'll take New England in a close one.
All right, the Sunday night game, we have the 5-2 Indianapolis Colts, also coming off a bye, traveling to Houston. Take on the 2-5 Houston Texans, who are also coming off a bye. Before then, of course, Indianapolis had the huge win at home against the Denver Broncos, and Houston just continues to they did play tough against Kansas City 2 weeks ago. The game is in Houston. The line is 1. Colts are favored. The Colts are given 1. What do you think, Ro? What do you got there, Roy? This might be a close game,
Yeah. Are they going to be the Colts that went to San Diego, or are they going to be the Colts that played Denver? That's the question. Houston's been kind of the benchmark in that division for the past few years. It's a kind of the team that Indianapolis probably preseason circled those games on the schedule, and especially this one is like, we're going to have to go in there and win this game, beat them in Houston to take over and be the team that's going to get crowned as the division champs. So I think they'll be up for it. I don't think it'll be so much of a game like maybe San Diego was when they thought maybe it was kind of like a bye week. They could kind of sneak in and, get a win on Monday night and get out of there. I think, it's finally going to come together for them, and I think they're going to rout Houston. I like Colts in a big way.
Yeah, I like the Colts as well, especially coming off a bye week. I know the loss to Reggie Wayne. Let's see how that affects them. I don't think it will too much. I like the young man, Darius Hayward-Bay, which I thought was actually a great pick acquisition by the Colts during the offseason. And I think he's going to slide right in there and be fine. Yeah, I mean, Houston's got some questions. We all know the injuries. Let's see how Arian Foster looks. He kind of tweaked that hammy the week before. and then he kind of downplayed it, like, I'll be fine, and I'll play week 9 against the Colts. Let's see. He's had the bye week. It's a Sunday night game, but we know how these players are. They always say, I'm ready.
Yeah.
With Roddy White, I'm fine, I'll play. Of course, that's what players do. Let's see here. That certainly doesn't help the Texans any. I think Ben Tate's also been banged up. Houston's just, and again, Andre Johnson's been banged. I mean, it's just been a terrible season for the Texans. Yeah, I don't see how they win this game. I don't think it'll be a blowout because they're home, and I think they're going to play with pride because it's a division game. And I think it's their season. I think they probably think, hey, if we can somehow win this game, we're 3-5. I think they're going to definitely play with some pride. I don't think they're going to lay down. I think they're going to definitely try, and I'm sure they want to beat the Colts. It's a division game. I'm sure now they're starting not to like the Colts, because the Colts are a really good team. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's really going to be close, but I think the Colts will win when all said and done. All right, and in the Monday night game for next week, we have the Green Bay Packers hosting the Chicago Bears. I mean, geez, both teams, again, I think we talked about the walking wounded is the term you used last week, Ruggs, and it applies here to these two teams. But the Packers are 5-2. This is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a good game. The Bears are going to come out. They're coming off a bye, but, again, they're just riddled with injuries. I think they're going to come out fighting and with a lot of pride because this is their season as well. This is for first place. They're 4-3. The Packers are 5-2. So this is kind of, I don't want to use the word, must win, but it kind of is borderline. You don't want to fall 2 games behind the Packers. I'm still going to take the Packers here. The game's in Lambeau. I just don't like the Bears' defense. They got lit up by the Redskins 2 weeks ago. And now they got to deal with the Packers. I know the Packers are hurt. You got some injuries, but the Packers looked pretty impressive last night against the Vikings. They look like they're not missing those guys at all. And the fact now they can actually run the ball, that gives them balance, which is what they've been lacking the last few seasons. That's just scary. And Mason Crosby's making a lot of kicks. So now he's having a resurgent year. He had a bad year last year. He's back to being an all-pro kicker. So now if they're at the 40 or 35, boom, they're at least getting 3 points now. So I think that does not bode well for the Bears. And again, the Bears, I mean, Matt Forte is a great player, running hard, yada, yada, but I don't like the Bears here.
I think ESPN, it kind of strikes again. They get snake bitten a little here with this matchup. I thought they were thinking, wow, big time one coming up, and then Cutler goes down. There's no Lance Briggs and the litany of other injuries on both of these teams. There's no Clay Matthews. There's no Randall Cobb. I mean, there's just guys up and down the line. But I think the Cutler injury obviously is the one that's going to have the most effect on the outcome of the game. And I think the Packers will win. Aaron Rodgers is getting locked in again. He's just starting to look like the player that we expected this year. Yep. And Green Bay's going on a run now, and it might not stop for quite a while. I mean, they got some games lined up that they could basically run for a while here. And I think they've already won a few in a row. I think they're going to add another one with this one, and I think they're starting to take a stranglehold and command of that division.
That's actually going to wrap up the show here for this Monday night. Thanks for listening, and thanks for all the support on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. Ruggs, great job as usual, my partner. All right, and that'll wrap it up. Like I said, good night, everybody.
Good night. Today's business is war, and you're right in the middle of the action. Every day, the rules change. Competitive forces grow strong. The fighting intensifies. There's only one way to stay on top of the situation. Information that can come from only one source, today's Wall Street Journal.